Okay. Hi, if you're tuning in today, my name is Gina, and I'm doing a second interview for Four Walls Theater. Today, I'll be interviewing Bridgette Dutta Portman, who is the playwright of our premiere production, Ageless. Bridgette's going to be joining us really soon, and I'm going to be doing her interview when she's here. But first, I just want to talk a little bit about what all we're doing and where you can find information about what we're doing. If you haven't already, follow our Facebook page, our Twitter, and our Instagram. You can find all of those at Four Walls Theater, except for Twitter, who is four, written like the number, theater. We'll be posting links to our YouTube channel, and that's where this performance of Ageless will stream live on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, and 5 Pacific. You can also find links to our GoFundMe, which talks a lot about our spotlighted charity, Meals on Wheels America, which Bridgette chose for us to donate to. 20% of the funds raised on our GoFundMe will be donated to Meals on Wheels America. Bridgette is here now, so I'm going to get ready to introduce her and get into our interview. Thanks for joining us today, Bridgette.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. Bridgette Dutta Portman is a playwright and aspiring novelist in the San Francisco Bay Area. More than 24 of her plays have been produced locally, nationally, and internationally. She is the past president of the Playwright Center of San Francisco, was the 2018 resident playwright at Custom Made Theater Company, and is currently a member of Same Boat Theater Collective, the Pair Writers Guild, and Dramatists Guild. She's been a finalist for the Bay Area Playwrights Festival, the Theater Bay Area Titan Award, the Playpen Conference, the Kentucky Women's Theater Conference Prize for Women's Writers, the New Dramatist Playwrights Residency, and more. She holds a PhD in political science from UC Irving and an MFA in creative writing from Spalding University. We're really excited that you are our first playwright at Four Walls, Bridgette.
Thank you. Well, I'm really excited to be part of this.
I'm going to jump right in and start asking the questions that are boggling my mind and driving my curiosity about you as a playwright. When did you first know that you were a writer? And was your focus always playwriting?
It definitely wasn't always playwriting, but I actually knew I was a writer, I would say when I was about 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I would write I would illustrate, actually. I couldn't write yet, but I would illustrate little books. Most of them were about puppies. And then my mom would, shout out to my mom if she's listening. She would I would dictate the story to her and she would write it down. So I have a bunch of those little books from when I was a kid. And then I wrote just kind of as a hobby for most of my life. Mostly fiction, like short stories. I wrote a really long, rambling and really bad sci-fi fantasy novel when I was in my teens and 20s. And
that's awesome.
Thankfully, it never saw the light of day. But and then I tried writing my first play. I think it was about 10 years ago, and found that I really liked it and just really liked the form. And so I took a playwriting class and just kind of fell in love with it. And I've been writing plays ever since.
That is absolutely amazing that you have so many successful plays. Your writing is so fine-tuned and brilliant, and you just started writing in the playwriting format 10 years ago.
Thank you. Well,
that's amazing to me.
If you saw some of my early plays, yeah, I've come a long way.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I identify as a writer as well, and I know that I've unturned some romantic fiction from my youth that I also never want to see the light of day. Can you tell us a little bit about your writing process and what inspires you to start writing a new play?
Yeah, I don't think it's always the same process. It kind of depends on the play. So for Ageless, for instance, I started with a what if question, just what if we could stop aging, and then started thinking about what implications that would have for the world, and built the characters and the play around that. And then other times it might just be a character that I can't get out of my head, either somebody that I make up, or a character from history or mythology that is really interesting to me. And then I will write in a way that's kind of character driven, and will build the plot and the story around them. And there have been other times when I've just written for specific prompts. Like there was a recent on Facebook, the Quarantine Bake Off.
Yeah.
Heard of it? Yeah. And they give like 5 different prompts that you have to incorporate into a short play. And so I wrote for one of the rounds of that.
I did too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Prompt writing is awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes things like that will if I'm feeling stuck, they'll just kind of like force me to write something. And sometimes those things have gone on and been successful. So
wonderful. What inspired you? You spoke a little bit about this, but would you like to elaborate a little bit more on what inspired you to write Ageless and what this play is about for you?
Sure. I think it stemmed from my just lifelong sort of fear of aging. And honestly, even when I was a kid, I remember like my friends were eager to get older and become teenagers and like grow up. And I was the opposite. I didn't want to grow up. I didn't want to be a teenager, and then I didn't want to get older and older. And I don't know why that is, but it's something I've struggled with. And then the opposite though, like the flip side of that is, if you could stop aging, would you really want to do that? Because what would the implications be? And so it's sort of these two struggling impulses within myself. I think I'm sort of half Marin, who's the main character, and half Olivia, who's the antagonist. Yeah. And so I just started thinking about this idea of, what if a society did create a pill that would prevent aging? What would that do on a social level? And then what would it do on an individual psychological level as well, for a person who either chooses to take the pill or doesn't? And then I kind of built the world of the play around that and the characters around that.
I think that what is so exciting about talking to you today is unearthing these little backstories. And we both know as writers that something that makes characters so powerful is when you can see the humanity in them. So having a little bit of you in the protagonist and antagonist that you've just shared that with us, I think we can see that so clearly in the play, because both characters are relatable and are powerful. And that really speaks to your writing. I'm so glad you shared that with us.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, even really awful antagonists, I feel like there always has to be something of myself in them, because I always have to be able to at least step into their mind in order to be able to write them.
Exactly. What do you hope audiences will take from the experience of watching Ageless?
I mean, I hope they will think about and reflect on their own feelings about aging, especially if those feelings are based in fear. Like, I think a lot of us have fearful feelings about getting older, and hopefully they'll re-examine those feelings and see that maybe there's another side to aging. Maybe there's a more positive side. And there's some other themes in the play that I think are important. There's some environmental undercurrents in it that I hope people will maybe reflect on, climate change and things like that. So
yeah.
I hope it sparks discussion.
Do you want to, my follow-up question, which you kind of already touched on, was why do you think Ageless is so appropriate for right now, for us in the pandemic and in quarantine, and outside of that, experiencing a lot of climate change struggles?
Yeah. So I wrote it like in 2017 mostly. And I should mention, I give a shout out, I forgot to, Quantum Dragon Theater is the theater that, it's a sci-fi fantasy theater in San Francisco that originally commissioned this play.
Wow,
So
amazing.
when I had that initial idea, I sent it to them as a like a proposal, which they selected. So I have them to thank for this play. But yeah, so there's climate change going on in the play. It's kind of a dystopian future where everybody is like they're building the seawalls higher, but they're not dealing with the actual fundamental underlying problem, which is climate change.
Right.
So I think that's completely relevant to us right now, unfortunately. And we're, during the quarantine, we're seeing some signs of pollution being reduced. So the air is getting a little bit cleaner in some cities, which is great. But I mean, after quarantine ends, we're going to have to figure out how to continue to live. And, these sorts of measures might be necessary to going forward to try to really make sure our planet survives.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then there's also, there are themes in the play that have to do with kind of isolation. And for instance, there are scenes where the characters are trying to connect, but they are remote. So one of them appears as a hologram. And so they try to reach out, but they can't quite get there. And I feel like that resonates in our current era. As people are trying to stay connected, but there's just something that's not quite the same when it's a virtual setting.
Sure. I mean, we're experiencing that all the time in our creative meetings and our work meetings, our rehearsals, with everything being distance and from at home. This is our reach.
Yeah. It's been different. Yeah.
Definitely. So Alana reaches out to you, the artistic director and founder of Four Walls, and is interested in producing this play for our first play at Four Walls virtual theater extravaganza. You obviously say yes, which is exciting. What excited you the most about this idea of your play being produced virtually?
I think the most exciting thing to me is the idea that people, my friends and family who don't live in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where most of my stuff goes up, are going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So my parents live in Washington State. They'll be able to see it. I have friends, across the country. And I love the idea that the people involved in the show, the actors, the director, the artistic director, are from, all over the country. And so I think that's the single biggest positive to doing things virtually. There's no longer a geographical restriction. I'm really excited about the idea of anyone, anywhere being able to see this.
That is great. And I'm so glad that you're excited about that as well. I think it's going to have such a far reach, which is awesome, and create a lot of visibility for you, which you're extremely deserving. One of the things that I talked about right at the beginning when I was just getting everyone who's watching us live right now, getting them caught up to date, is I mentioned that Four Walls Theater will be donating a portion of our funds raised in our GoFundMe campaign for the show to a spotlighted charity that you chose. Would you like to talk a little bit about Meals on Wheels America, why it's important to you and important to this show?
Yeah. So Meals on Wheels America delivers meals to seniors who are oftentimes living alone and potentially facing health issues and things that would prevent them from being able to easily make meals themselves. So especially now during the pandemic, I think it's important for us to support seniors who are among the people most vulnerable to this disease. So I thought it would be a great charity to support. So I'm hoping we raise a lot for them.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing all of these insights into your work and your process. And thank you so much for sharing Ageless with us. It has been truly a joy to be in rehearsals with the actors. They're doing amazing, and we're really excited for this show to go live on Friday. I'm going to just talk to our audience a little bit more about where they can find us on social media. You can follow our Facebook page, which is Four Walls Theater. You can follow our Twitter at Four Theater and our Instagram, Four Walls Theater. We'll post updates to see more about the actors. You can see a sneak peek of the entire cast is already on our Instagram and will be on our Facebook later, and it's on the GoFundMe. The GoFundMe is where we are taking donations that are acting as our ticket prices to supplement the donating to the charity, to paying our actors and production team. And it also holds a lot of links that are relevant and are easy access through that. They're all in one place. It's the link to the YouTube Live, the link to all of our other social media, the link to Meals on Wheels America. So there's a little bit of a lag. So we're gonna hang out and be patient, and Bridgette's gonna participate in this next portion as well. But we're gonna take questions from people watching the YouTube Live right now. So you can comment in the chat if you have any questions that you would like us to answer. So, but we'll be patient, and Bridgette and I will talk a little bit to fill the time because there's a slight lag. Do you have any other? I know Ageless is also being performed later in May as well. Where is that being done, Bridgette?
Yeah, so that's at Santa Monica Repertory Theater, and that's going to be May 16th. So this is part of their festival, which is called Brave New World, hashtag Brave New World. And it's going to include a reading of Ageless, but also there will be a panel discussion that I'll be part of.
Cool.
And there will be a one-act workshop, playwriting workshop, and a couple of other events. So definitely go to their website, anyone who is interested.
Will you say that website one more time for us, Bridgette?
It's Santa Monica Rep, and I don't want to get their website wrong, so I'd have to look up the actual address, but Google Santa Monica Repertory Theater.
Awesome. We're just gonna give the viewers time to send us questions. Do you have any other things that you would like to talk about, or maybe questions for me since I've been in rehearsals with the actors?
Yeah. What would you say is like the most challenging thing about rehearsing this way?
I think it's making sure, for me, I feel like my instincts in being in rehearsal, I'm watching so that I can market the show as best as I can, but I'm also acting as a stage manager type figure. So I take questions in the chat and make sure everyone's internet is going well and make sure everyone's taken care of. But my instincts as a stage manager are to also make sure that everyone's really well taken care of. And so reading body language is gone, differentiating between like acting and like regular actor angst. Like I messaged an actor in rehearsal the other day and was like, do you have a headache? Are you okay? Like, and she's like, I'm acting. I was like, super convincing, like good work. I'm so sorry. My instinct is to make sure that they're taken care of. And it's hard to do that from my little office space, knowing, that they're so far away and I can't physically or see if they need to just step out to the bathroom. Everything has to be communicated, I feel like, so much more and in different ways. That is like a really interesting kind of shift in the process for me, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's such a strange thing, but I'm glad that we're able to do it.
It is really exciting to be able to create so much community and networking that like never before, kind of. Do you have any other work that you would like to talk about that's coming out or being done?
Sure. So at the Pear Theater, where I've been a member of the Pear Playwrights Guild for the past few years, and every year the Pear does an anthology of our short plays called Pear Slices.
Oh, that's cute.
It's usually done it's done in May, and there's usually 8 short plays. And this year, of course, it presented a big challenge because of the pandemic. And so what I decided to do was do it virtually. So it will be a full production. There will be costumes, background, right, everything, but it'll be the actors individually being filmed. And
Wow.
that I got to check the dates again, but I think it opens May 3rd. You can go to thepair.org for more information about that. And so I wrote one of the short plays for that. And
Awesome.
yeah, I'm really excited. I rehearsal and it seemed to go well. So I'm interested in seeing how that whole show is going to come together.
Definitely. We had a question from the audience about what was your next project, but then we kind of discovered that. So that's awesome. I mean, obviously you can't, you don't want to reveal too much, but are you writing anything new these days? Or have you felt like maybe some of your inspiration or maybe are you experiencing any writer's block during the kind of stress of quarantine?
I have, yeah. There were a few weeks where I really didn't write anything. It was just, everything was a bit too overwhelming. And then I forced myself to write a poem. So I wrote a poem about the pandemic, and that kind of unlocked some things a little bit for me. I'm still having a hard time, but I'm trying to work on a new full-length play that, like Ageless, has a little bit of a sci-fi twist to it. And that is still in early stages, but I have an outline and I'm trying to get that going. And then I am also trying to begin a young adult novel set on Mars. And for that, I have a lot of research to do. So,
right.
But those are 2 things that are upcoming for me, hopefully. But it's definitely been a challenge. I know it is for a lot of writers right now as well.
Definitely. I think that's wonderful that you even have those wheels turning in all of this. I think that's really great. I'm just going to check in with our producer on if we have any incoming questions. I also was dealing with a lot of writer's block right at the top of the quarantine and the shelter in place. Different cities and states obviously set up at different times. I'm in Chicago, and when it went into place, it definitely was stressful and concerning, and we're all just trying to do our best. But the quarantine bake-off was a huge a breakthrough for me to be able to just go off of a prompt and just let go of anything that I was trying to do and just let the writing flow, and that ended up being really successful. So I'm so glad that everyone at Quarantine Bake Off set that up to be done. We have a question. Who is your favorite playwright?
Probably, like, it sounds boring, but probably Shakespeare.
I mean, you can't go wrong. Nobody can deny your choice. That's, yeah.
I was obsessed with Hamlet when I was a teenager. Like, I would watch, there's that 4-hour Hamlet movie with Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
That I would like obsessively watch and rewatch. I think I was like 15 or 16 and was just in love with Hamlet. So, and it's a wonderful play. If you're talking about more contemporary playwrights, I really like Rajiv Joseph, who wrote Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo. That's one of my favorite plays, as well as Animals Out of Paper. I like both of those. I really like Lauren Gunderson.
Yeah. Have you been watching her Facebook workshops?
I haven't had a chance to, but I've heard really great things. Yeah.
I don't know if the audience wants to know. My favorite playwright is Sarah Rule. Yeah. But Shakespeare definitely influenced a lot of my primary theater work. I was more a classically trained actor before I transitioned to writing and did a lot of Shakespeare, and huge respect for the work and its roots and all of our work. I'm looking to see if we have anything else. Don't want to forget anyone. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Bridgette. It is so fun to work with you at Four Walls, and I am really excited for everyone to watch Ageless this Friday, May 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube Live on this exact channel, the Four Walls Theater channel. It will be live. You can find more information and updates through our GoFundMe, which is Four Walls Theater Presents Ageless. And you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Reach out to us with any questions at Four Walls Theater, that's with an ER, at gmail.com. And we're really excited to see you guys in the audience if you choose to chat. Thank you so much, Bridgette.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Fun. Yeah, anytime.